Hello, what's up YouTube photographer Ronix with another tutorial. In this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you my workflow for color grading photos in Capture One. So this is not Photoshop, this is Capture One for all those that usually ask me in the comment section about the software I'm using. I'm using Capture One and it is not a free software, and this video is also not sponsored by Capture One. So if at all you want to check out Capture One, simply Google and search for Capture One and simply pay for a license key if at all you have purchased to get all these features. So this is not a sponsored video. Let's go in and we understand what I tend to do when it comes to editing and color grading images to have a more uniform skin tone when it comes to using Capture One. So this is my interface, and if at all you'd love your interface to look like mine, you can simply come to Window and come to Workspace and simply come to Migration. So if at all we are proceeding with the tutorial and you're lacking any of the tools in your Capture One, simply come and hit or look for the folder or the site that has these adjustments and right click anywhere and come to add tool and add whichever tool you're lacking within your Capture One. So this is the image, and usually I prefer to edit or color grade raw files because I have so much information to deal with or to work on regarding color grading. So I'm just going to come to the contrast and lighting issues, and I first of all correct those before I do anything within Capture One. So I'll first of all come to the high dynamic range option, and I'm going to simply take the highlights down, and I'm just going to do the same for the whites. So that what that does, it eliminates that kind of shininess or the hot spots within the portrait. Then I'll also just come the exposure tab and simply drop down the exposure rather, because I felt like that was a little bit too much for my liking. Then I'll just come and add a tiny bit of contrast of around 5 or 6, because when I'm shooting the images I tend to take out the contrast from the image in the camera. Then I'll also come to the levels right here, and I'm just going to drag my blacks in just like that to add contrast to the image. But as you're doing that, it takes out the information within the darkest areas. So I'll just come the shadows and I'll slightly open up the shadows. So this looks okay. So after ensuring that I've done the lighting or contrast issue corrections regarding the image, what you have to do or ensure is always shoot in a warm white balance, because that is going to ease your color grading process within Capture One. So I've done the basic adjustments or the contrast issues within the background layer. So in Capture One also have to work with layers like we do within Photoshop. So I'll just come to this plus icon, and I prefer to do the color grading on a separate layer. So I'll just right click on the plus icon and I'll just come straight to new field adjustment layer, so that I can do a color grading on this adjustment layer itself. So if at all I overdo the color grading, I can simply come to the opacity and drop that down, which option we don't have when we work on the color grading on the background layer itself. So just come and do a color grading on the new field adjustment layer that we created. So I'll just come and rename that to color grade. So after I've done that, I'm just going to scroll down straight to my color editor tool, and you can see that we have basic, advanced, and skin tone. So the first thing I tend to do when it comes to this color editor option is first of all ensuring that I have a uniform skin color or skin tone, and I've matched all the skin on the model. So I'm just going to come to skin tone, and you can see that we have the eyedropper tool or the color picker tool. So I'll just simply left click and select this tool, and I'll just zoom in. So what I'm going to do in this case, I'm just going to sample an area that I want the rest of the skin to look like. So you can see that we have a little bit of magentas, we have oranges right here, we have some yellows right here. So what I'm just going to look for an area that has or should represent the rest of the skin tones in this image, and I'll just simply click on that area. So after clicking on that area, you can see that this is the range, and that area contains yellows, oranges, reds, and magentas. So what I'm going to do, you can see sampled color is this one right here. So we have the option that says amount and uniformity. So under amount, we have hue, saturation, and lightness, and the same under uniformity. So in order to see the sampled color that you chose initially before, when we clicked right here, you can simply come to view selected color range, and what that is going to do, it is going to desaturate the rest of the colors within the image, and only the color that you sampled is going to remain in its color form. So I'm just going to turn this off. So what I'm going to do, after sampling, we want to make sure that we hue that color so that it can be uniform. So in that case, we're just going to come to the uniformity slider, and we're simply going to take up the hue slider just like that. So you left click and drag the hue slider towards the right hand side, and as you're doing that, you are going to notice that the color on the skin is going to start getting or looking uniform. So I'll just come to the saturation and also take up the saturation. So these two sliders work hand in hand. So I'll take up the hue and take up the saturation up to when I feel like the skin is looking a little bit more on the uniform side. So I could take this up a little bit. So this looks okay. So when you feel like the image is now uniform, but you're still getting some other random colors in the photo, you can simply come to the amount, and under amount you can simply take down the overall saturation. So just come and simply desaturate that, and when you feel like you're getting more reds or greens within the image or the skin tones, you can come to the hue slider. So taking this towards the left hand side is going to add magenta, and the opposite of magenta is going to be green. So if at all the image is green, you have to take this towards the magentas, and if at all your skin tones are more on the red side, you have to take the hue slider towards the green side to eliminate the opposite color, which is the magenta. So right now we are now looking, this looks okay, it looks great, and now the skin is looking a little bit more uniform. So after that, I'm just going to come down to my color balance, and under color balance you can add a given color to either the shadows, the midtones, or the highlights. So for this case, I'm just going to be adding, first of all, a color to my highlight. So I just want to add a tiny bit of the cyan to my highlights. So just come and add a cyan color towards the highlight, just a tiny bit. So the closer this is towards the edges, the more concentrated or saturated that color is going to be in the image, and the closer the circle is moved towards the center, the more less saturated that color is going to be. So I'm just going to come to the blacks, and under the blacks I'm just going to simply add a bluish color towards the shadows, just a tiny bit, to slightly cool down the image. So this looks okay, it looks great. And after I've done this, the next thing I'm going to handle or target is going to be the midtones. So in the midtones, I prefer to add a tiny bit of the oranges. So I'm just going to first of all drag it towards the edges. Then I'll just come and drag it back towards the center to reduce on the given color. So this is okay, it looks great. So this is not all for the color grading process. So I'll just come back to my basic color adjustments, and I'll just go straight to my oranges. So after coming the oranges, I'll simply come and take down the lightness of the oranges to make the color a little bit richer, and I'll simply come the saturation and simply desaturate this color, because I feel like the oranges were a little bit too much and the image was a little bit over saturated in the orange tones. So I just zoom out by pressing Ctrl Command minus, and I show you the before and after for the color grading process of this very image. So I just turn this on. So this is the image before and after, before, after. Just look at how nice and uniform the skin tone has turned out to be. You can see before and after. So the thing about this is, when you feel like you have messed up on the makeup of the model, so if at all you feel like you have overdone the color grading, you can come to opacity and simply drop that down, And when you feel like you have really messed up the makeup or the lipstick of the model, you can come and simply get the eraser tool, and with this selected, you can simply press the M key on the keyboard, and that is going to show you the mask, because since this is a new field adjustment layer, it was displaying the color grading, or it was affecting the overall image on a global basis. That is why the whole mask is in red. So just want to eliminate the color grading from the lips of the model. So you get the eraser tool, and with that you can simply erase by simply, so to reduce on the size of the eraser tool, you can use the bracket keys on the keyboard. So in order to erase, you hold down the left click button and you paint over the areas that you don't want to affect, for example the eyes or the eyeshadow, because sometimes we don't want to affect the original color that was applied on the makeup of the model. So after that, just come and simply press M once again, and you can see that we have now retained the original color of the makeup of the model. So when you feel like this is okay for you, you can proceed and take the image to Photoshop to do the final process, like the skin retouching and blemish removal. So in order to do that, simply come to image and you come to edit with and come to Photoshop, and you can simply take the image to Photoshop. So this is it for this tutorial, and if at all you enjoyed this, don't forget to like this video and don't forget to subscribe this channel. If at all you have been watching and you're not subscribed yet to this channel, Ronix from Ronix Photography, thank you for watching, and I'll see you near more amazing tutorials. And don't forget to keep practicing and also keep creating.